Coming to you live from Ursprung Gymnasium on the campus of Baldwin Wallace University, this is the Ohio Athletic Conference on BWYellowJackets.com. Alongside Ryan Swingle, I'm Brendan Gulick. It's senior night for the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets. There are only two seniors on this team. They've made a big impact off the court, and they've done a nice job in their time on the court as well. But the Yellow Jackets have a whole lot more in store tonight than just trying to focus on sending those two off on a high note, Ryan. This is a big game for both of these two teams with the Mount Union Purple Raiders in town. Yeah, both teams coming into this game with a lot on the line as far as positioning in the postseason conference tournament. BW fighting for position for that 6th through 8th seed, and Mount Union battling with Muskingum for that 4th spot. So really crucial in these last two games for both teams in the season for them to come out with wins. Mount Union entering the game 13-10 overall. They're at the 8-8 mark in conference play. BW is 2 games back in the standings at 6-10, but there's a 3-way tie for that 6-10 record right now. And if it stays that way, it's likely that BW would finish in the middle of those 3 teams with a tiebreaker. There's still a whole lot of things that can happen. We don't want to get too caught up in that. But what is important is that BW tries to pick up a big win here at home, because they're going to go to a tough road place on Saturday when they got to go to Wilmington. Tonight's game has to be important. Yeah, definitely want to get both of those wins if you can, but especially tonight. Obviously, I want to get a win no matter what. These last 2 games, BW really going to have to finish well, finish off the season. Obviously, not how they wanted to exactly get the season going so far, but still 2 games left in the conference tournament. Really a lot that can happen for the Yellow Jackets. All right, so Baldwin Wallace is playing a Mount Union team tonight that has pretty arguably the best player in the conference. De'Ellen Jackson, a tremendous scorer. Yeah, he's leading the conference in scoring, but he does so much more than that. But what Mount Union is missing is probably their second best player, who is also hugely impactful. No J.J. Kakura tonight. Yeah, really a big loss for them. One of their most outstanding players. Obviously, you have De'Ellen Jackson for them, but obviously a big loss. Jackson had to pick up some of the weight tonight. Like you said, big score, 19 points a game from him, a long defender, really plays well on both ends of the court, athletic point guard for them. So should be a good showing for him having to carry the load. Mount Union, a team that tries more often than not to play in the half court. They're very effective offensively. They've struggled with their half court defense this year. We'll keep that in mind as BW, one of the most prolific three-point shooting teams in the entire country. Whether they're hitting them or not, yeah, BW's going to throw up more than 25 threes a night. Yeah, right around that 30 threes per game mark for BW, one of the top in the conference, if not the country. Not shooting it at a particularly effective rate for as many threes as they take, but Mount Union is one of the better three-point shooting teams in the conference as far as efficiency, if not the best. So really two teams that like to shoot threes and work in their half-court game to get those open 3 opportunities. Really just a matter of who will make them in this contest this evening. Even though it's been an up-and-down year for BW, they have won 2 of their last 3 games coming into this final week of the season. Mount Union, on the other hand, well, they've beat Ohio Northern, but they lost to Otterbein. Of course, the Polar Bears, one of the conference favorites. Otterbein has had a tough season. They're in the cellar. Who knows what we're in store for tonight, but there's a lot of really athletic players that'll be on the floor for both teams. When we come back, we're going to hear from assistant coach Brian Schmidt with our pregame conversation. It's Baldwin Wallace and Mount Union next on BWYellowJackets.com. Our pregame coverage of the Yellow Jackets continues tonight before the University of Mount Union makes their first appearance and only appearance of the season inside Ursprung Gymnasium. We visit with assistant coach Brian Schmidt. Brian, it's senior night. On top of the fact that the regular season is winding to a close, it's the final time you're going to play at home here this season, while the team is very likely moving into the OAC tournament next week. It is unlikely that you'll have a home game. So this is basically the last chance to have the seniors take the home floor. From that perspective, first and foremost, what do you like about the couple of seniors on this team?
Well, Zach and Ben, anytime you can make it 4 years and playing college basketball, that's a really special thing. So commend them for that, and they've done a great job. They're both captains this year and have done a great job leading. We've got a few other captains, but when I think of the pulse of the program and the pulse of the team, I definitely think of those two guys. Obviously, Zach's in the rotation and started every game for us, and he's just a competitor, a winner. He's already got stuff lined up for after graduation. Put basketball aside, he's a successful dude. And same thing with Ben. Ben obviously isn't in the rotation. He might get a look at the end of the half or something like that. If we need a three, we got some things in for him. But off of the court is honestly what I think those two guys. I mean, Ben's going to be student teaching. I think he's doing a student teaching now, and I'm sure he's going to have some jobs lined up. So, they're just successful individuals. They're going to be successful in whatever they do. They're obviously going different paths, but when I think of those two guys, that's what I think of the off-the-court stuff before any of the on-the-court stuff.
Let's talk about Mount Union. It's a team 13-10 on the season. They've had a couple of stretches where they played really, really well. They had a 4-game losing streak in conference when their schedule lined up such that they played John Carroll, Ohio Northern, and Marietta 3 times in a 4-game stretch. And right now, I don't think anybody really wants to put that on their schedule this year. But they've got a couple of the better players in the conference, obviously, with what they've got in D'Allen Jackson. I mean, I'm not sure if there's anybody more special in the OAC.
There isn't, and I'd like to say I feel sorry for him, but we went through a stretch very similar, playing 3 of those teams in a 4-game stretch. So that's the OAC. That's the OAC in a nutshell. Every night's going to be competitive, but in terms of D'Allen specifically, without a doubt, in my opinion, guard-wise, you think of the most explosive guys in the league. He's at the top of my list. Linane comes to mind from John Carroll, certainly. And I think Jarrell Marsh from Muskingum, those 3 guys, I mean, I don't think anybody wants to have to guard them, and it's a nightmare to game plan for. But D'Allen obviously was hurt last year and did come back towards the end of the year and just wasn't the same. And we had heard this summer through summer league stuff and our guys talking like D'Allen's back, and it's like, great, that's the last thing we wanted to hear. But certainly when we played him and popped the film on, he's back, and he's probably better than he's ever been in his career. Explosive. There's nothing he can't do offensively. And to be honest with you, I think he's got a chance to make money playing basketball. Coach Heil and I were talking about that the other day. I mean, he's that good. I think he's got a chance to be a pro. Obviously, probably not in the NBA, but maybe overseas in some leagues or something like that. But he's as good as it gets offensively, and definitely a nightmare to game plan for.
The other player that's had a really high level of success this year for Mount Union, and probably their most efficient and most effective player, I would argue, is JJ Kakura, but he's not able to play. He got hurt a couple of weeks ago. He will miss the remainder of the regular season. Since you've had a chance now to see film on Mount Union for several different points throughout the course of the year, how much does his lack of presence on the floor alter your game plan?
To be honest with you, what JJ brought was a guy who they could put him at the 3 or the 4. He could stretch the floor. He was just a dynamic offensive guy. You can't replace that. I mean, he's probably a first teamer if he's healthy. If he's not a first teamer, he's certainly a second teamer. But to be honest with you, they don't miss a beat offensively. They got guys that are coming in like Stanger and Foreman, who didn't play against us the first time, who's a guy that's been playing for him recently. Really good scholarship kid out of Mentor. So, those guys are kind of filling the void, and obviously you're not going to replace J.J. Kakura with one guy. But you got guys like Stanger, Bauer Malone's much more aggressive, they're starting point guard freshman. So they've got a lot of guys that I think are just getting more opportunities offensively, and to be honest with you, those guys are more than capable. They're shooting the basketball. I was just looking at the stats today. We're number 1 in threes made, and they're number 2 right behind us, and we've certainly attempted a lot more than they have, so their percentage is higher. But I expect them to spread the floor and shoot the basketball, and those other guys are going to get opportunities, and they've been taking advantage of them.
Let's go down memory lane for a second. We've talked a little bit about the stars from Mount Union. The star player on your team, Cam Kuhn, last time that he played in Alliance, I should say last year when he played in Alliance,
sure.
51 points.
Yeah.
Didn't obviously repeat that performance this year, but nonetheless, that comes to mind when you see these two teams matched up. What do you remember about that game?
Oh, I remember, I almost had a heart attack about 4 different times throughout the course of the game. I'm not going to lie. It was a dogfight. You know, we had Kakura. I remember Kakura that game, and Ruffin, who's since graduated, but those guys couldn't miss either. I know they had some guys in the 30s, and Kakura might have even been in the 40 range. So there were some unbelievable individual performances going on, and not a lot of defensive stops, I can tell you that. Cam's performance was special. It's something we talk about with recruits. It helps in all facets of our program. Anytime you got a guy that scores 50, the media picks up on it. It was in the Plain Dealer. But besides that, not much. I remember falling short by 1 point, and unfortunately, that's the memory that probably sticks with me the most. But Cam, I remember he's 9 of 14 from 3. I definitely remember that stat. So it wasn't just free throws and getting to the basket. He was stretching the floor, which he's more than capable of doing. So, but to be honest with you, the result of the game kind of outweighed Cam's performance from what I remember. But definitely a special performance and something he's capable. I don't know if he's ever capable of scoring 50 again, but he's certainly capable of going off and kind of putting the offense on his back for a game or two.
As we talk keys to tonight's game, I think for Mount Union, one of the things they've looked to do all season long is get to the free throw line. They're the 5th best free throw shooting team in the country. How do you try to negate their ability as they constantly slash to the basket?
Yeah, I think the way that we're going to defend their ball screens is certainly going to help with that. I think they got 4s and 5s really. They've really only got one guy on the floor in their 9-10 man rotation that doesn't step out and shoot the 3 ball. So that's a big concern of ours is the 3-point line, and obviously we want to keep them off the free throw line. And I think the way that we're going to defend ball screens, hopefully keeps them out of what we call the hot zone or the paint area. So we've got some different things in mind, but to be honest with you, I do think I think they shot. It was something crazy like. In their triple overtime game, like 30 or 40 free throws. So I think they've had some big numbers, and that's kind of inflated, them to be 5th in the country. But, if they're shooting free throws, that means they're not making 3s, and I'll kind of take those chances. But we'd like to do both, keep them off the 3-point line and the free throw line.
Appreciate your time. Good luck.
Thanks, Brennan.
All right, our pregame conversation concludes here, but when we come back, starting lineups are next. It's the Purple Raiders and the Yellow Jackets on BWYellowJackets.com. Back inside Ursprung Gymnasium, where the audience on hand is being treated to a small senior day ceremony, where the Yellow Jacket 2 senior players and 3 senior student managers are all being recognized here prior to our contest tonight. Final regular season home game, and in all likelihood the final home game of the season. We'll wait until the conference decides for sure that that's official, but as best we can tell, there is no possibility for BW to sneak into the 4 seed, which means when they play in the OAC tournament next week, it'll be somewhere on the road, either at Marietta, John Carroll, Ohio Northern, potentially at Mount Union. It also could end up being at Muskingum, but still some things to be determined on that front. So we'll wait till next week to give you those results, but at least wanted to make note of the fact that Zach Brandy and Ben Chase, along with Carter Cruz, Brandon Gleam, and Dane Held, are all being recognized here before today's game. In the meantime, let's give you the starting lineups as the Yellow Jackets get ready for their 2nd straight Wednesday night rivalry game here at home. At guard, senior from Hudson High School, Zach Brandy. Brandy's had a nice season starting every game for the Yellow Jackets, all 24 games, scoring 7 points and grabbing almost 2 rebounds per contest. Jay Battle, sophomore guard from the Columbus area. He's from Gahanna-Lincoln High School. Battle is a terrific young player. He's come off the bench now in basically the last 6 games in a row. He's at 11 points per night. He leads the team with 69 assists. And the last time that they played Mount Union, Battle came off the bench and had 20 in a really nice performance. Junior forward Mike Kaminsky gets the start tonight, his 12th of the season in his 19th game. He's been battling some injury problems throughout the course of the year, but it's nice to see Kaminsky in there because his size in the paint makes a big difference. And then the two most notable players for BW in their starting lineup, the two all-conference performers, Cam Kuhn and Jake Featherolf, both of them juniors. Of course, we mentioned in the pregame conversation that Cam Kuhn scored 51 points against Mount Union in Alliance last year, but he's been held in check more often than not this year. Kuhn at 16 points per game. He is a good free throw shooter this season. And Jake Featherolf, who is a junior forward from Norwalk. Featherolf at 12 points and the second best rebounding number in the conference, 9.7 a night. Mount Union starters when we come back, but we'll pause for the national anthem here in Ursprung. All right, so once again, it's Zach Brandy, Jay Battle, Mike Kaminsky, Cam Kuhn, and Jake Featherolf for the Yellow Jackets, led by second-year head coach Tom Heil, assisted by Brian Schmidt and Keonta Howell. For the University of Mount Union, 13-10 on the season. They are at 8-8 in conference play. At guard, a sophomore from Talmadge, Andrew Francisconi. Sophomore tonight makes his 6th start of the season, but he's played in all 23 games. Devontae Friga, a freshman guard from Cuyahoga Falls. Friga is playing in just his 8th game and making his 4th start of the season. Friga, a young man who just hasn't had a lot of opportunity, but is making the most of his time on the floor for head coach Mike Feuline. Freshman point guard from Stowe, Nathan Bauer Malone. He's been in there every night except for one, his 23rd start of the season tonight. Bauer Malone at 8 points per game. Miles Griffin, a junior guard who basically had been a staple for them the last year or so, and he started almost every game at the beginning of this season, but Miles Griffin has only played in 2 of the last 5 and started only one of those, battling some intermittent knee issues. He is in the starting lineup tonight. And then, of course, Mr. Do-Everything for Mount Union is De'Allen Jackson, the senior from Akron Archbishop Hoban High School. De'Allen Jackson, the leading scorer in the conference, over 19 points per game. He is definitely in consideration for one of the region players of the year, and his talent is that of an All-American, but he has not earned that distinction. Mike Feuline, in his 6th year as the head coach at Mount Union, he's done some special things, including winning the OAC regular season twice and won tournament championship 2 years ago. He's done a nice job turning around the Purple Raiders program. Several assistants for him as the two teams take the floor. Mount Union in purple, BW in white. We bring back in Ryan Swingle. Ryan, obviously this is a game the Yellow Jackets know they want to have, but it's about how you execute out on the floor, and there really isn't an easy game in conference.
Yeah, definitely want to get this win going into the postseason play. Going to have to knock down the 3 ball. They've shown lately that they, even when they aren't hitting the 3s, they're still going to take about 30 a game, and with that, you're going to have to knock down some 3s.
So the Yellow Jackets win the opening tip, and off we go. And immediately turn it over. Mount Union brings the ball into the forecourt with a full head of steam. Again, they like to play in the half court. They're incredibly efficient in the half court offense. They average well over 1 point per possession. It means they're scoring better than 1 out of every 2 times down the floor when they're in their half-court game. This is Bauer Malone giving it up, and he's too short from Dante Friga's right hand. So the Jackets come back up the floor the opposite direction. Baldwin Wallace, you mentioned how good they are when they're shooting a three-point ball. Last time they won a Wednesday home game was the most notable game of the year. It was December 14th. It's been 2 months since the team has won a Wednesday night home game as Cam Kuhn misses from the baseline. That was the 121-59 drubbing of Pitt Greensburg on 17 three-pointers. Nice little shimmy down the lane, and DeAllen Jackson has his first basket of the night. Mount Union on top by 1 possession, but Mike Kaminsky scores the basketball easily and knocks things at 2 apiece.
Nice use of the body there by Kaminsky. Typically a three-point shooter, but able to get the ball into the post there and use his strength to go up and in for the easy lane.
Working around the near side, Francis Sconey kind of stumbled on his way to the basket. Featherolf deflects it out of bounds. All right, you heard Brian Schmidt talk about it pregame. This is a Mount Union team that hits almost 10 threes a game, second in the conference behind the Yellow Jackets, but they have taken far fewer three-point attempts, and they are easily the best three-point shooting team by the percentage as Jackson just goes to work on arguably the best on-ball defender that BW has in Jay Battle.
And earlier in that possession, they had a screen scenario there with Jackson. He was able to get through that screen, and they aren't switching off him, so that's something to watch for the rest of the game.
Kaminsky stuffed in the low post. Jackson and company pick it back up. Purple Raiders come into the forecourt with an early lead. Miles Griffin with a nice move, slipping around Featherolf, and he scores a basketball.
Once again, not switching off of Jackson, able to create some separation off the pump fake there. Easy 2.
So here's Jay Battle for the Yellow Jackets, who lost the ball, and it did deflect off the side brown paint. Bryant Berry, our head official, made that whistle. Jay McMichael and Don Rice join him out on the floor. 5 big games across the conference tonight. John Carroll's at Heidelberg, Otterbein at Ohio Northern, Marietta hosting Muskingum, and Capital is hosting the Wilmington Quakers as the Purple Raiders turn it over. Lots to be spoken for still in terms of OAC tournament positioning. Marietta enters the day 14-2 in conference. They're a game up on both Carroll and Northern. Mount Union right now has the 4 seed locked up, but they still have to win a couple of games in order to solidify their positioning for a home game next Tuesday. Zach Brandy down the left lane, scoops and scores.
Nice drive there by Brandy, able to go to the left and finish with the left. It's a nice lane.
Muskingum right now in the 5 spot, but they could be a little mobile, and nobody really wants to play either Muskingum or BW come tournament time because of both teams' ability to shoot the ball and their athleticism. There really is no easy out in this tournament. That one clanked off the right side of the rim. Good hard effort by Cam Kuhn trying to pull in the rebound, but a jump ball is called as he got tied up with Friga. There's Tyler Colombo on the floor for Mike Kaminsky. And Mount Union makes a substitution as well. It'll be Miles Griffin that checks out. It's really hard to see the numbers on the front of the jersey. That's
Niemke, I believe.
Yeah, it's Jalo Niemke who checks in. Niemke is wearing 32 tonight instead of 34. Not a bad idea from Friga. Niemke cleans it up.
Nice job there by Niemke to stick with the rebound off the deflection, the tip ball out, and nice second chance opportunity there for the Purple Raiders.
Colombo, good positioning in the low post. No foul called on the contact. And the Purple Raiders the other direction. Jackson slipping underneath, and Battle did a great job defending him. The MK couldn't handle it. It's loose in the corner. And on the left wing now, Francis Sconey pulls it back up top. Bauer Malone to run the show. These two teams were OAC semifinalists last year, but both teams bowed out a game before they wanted to as Niemke scores and makes it a 10-4 affair. Baldwin Wallace fell for the second straight year in the tournament at Marietta. Mount Union dropped at the hands of eventual OAC champion John Carroll. Battle looking into the post, like the mismatch, and Fedorov finished for 2.
Frigo was front and Fedorov there with the height mismatch, trying to deny him in the post. Nice pass there by Battle to really dissect the mismatch and get the easy 2.
Good crossover. Here's a 3 from Bauer Malone. It's off to the right. Fedorov rips away the rebound. Mount Union's hit 5 of their first 10 from the floor. They built themselves a nice lead as Cam Coon spins one off the window.
Nice acrobatic finish there by Coon, able to adjust in midair, get the 2 to go from inside the paint.
Cam Coon's first basket as we have several players waiting to check in. Always trying to remember where Jackson is on the floor as the MK goes to work on Fedorov. Now Jackson has the ball. Battle won't give him any daylight. And Jackson faked out his own teammate. It was a great idea, but Niemke wasn't waiting for him. So here comes Michael Quiring for Zach Brandy and Kyle Nader for, actually, you know what? Jay Battle will check out instead of Brandy, who is still on the floor. Kyle Nader replaces Jake Fedorov.
And with that switch, I looked for Nader to cover Jackson in the half-court sets now for BW.
Colombo, the tallest guy on the floor, can handle the basketball pretty well. He gives it away to Cam Coon, who pulls up and buries one. BW with its first lead of the game on Cam Coon's first 3-ball of the night. In fact, that was BW's first 3-point attempt. We've played basketball for 5.5 minutes. It usually doesn't take that long. Cam
Coon starting to heat up now with 5 points. Nice finish on the layup in the previous possession. Easy pull-up 3 there for him on that one.
Francis Sconey over on the far side gave it away, and that is a foul in the paint. Niemke was trying to zigzag around Tyler Colombo, who grabbed onto him. That's Colombo's first. Here comes Alex Nara for Zach Brandy, a slightly larger lineup. 2 teams that feature a lot of underclassmen.
2 very young teams.
I think both coaches would tell you maybe they felt like they're just a year away as Jeff Foreman gives it up to Jackson. Nader also an intense on-ball defender. Jackson in trouble, never lost control. Foreman feeds Niemke. Almost took an extra step, but managed to sling it over the front of the rim, and Mount Union regains the lead.
Nice little running jump hook there by Niemke, able to finish over him with a slight height advantage over Nara.
That's 6 points for the 6'5" sophomore from Nordonia High School on the west side of Cleveland, rather the east side of Cleveland. Nara jump stops in the paint, and the baby hook is up and in.
Yeah, back-to-back hook shots there from both big men, going back and forth now, a battle in the paint for both teams.
Not what we expected.
Yeah, obviously more of a 3-point shooting teams from both sides, but both teams have effectively worked into the paint, not a whole lot of threes so far.
Jackson looking for some daylight down the lane, missed the layup. Quiring was right there to defend him. Good team effort by BW defensively so far on Jackson. Nader kind of faked himself out and lost the handle. BW gives it away for the 3rd time. In the forecourt, this is Tommy Stenger up top. The MK looking for room in the paint, and it is unkind on the front of the rim. Baldwin Wallace by 1 here at home on senior night, almost midway through the first half. Cam Coon, good hesitation move. He was able to beat his defender and then got fouled. It's going to go on Francis Sconey.
Nice drive isolation there by Coon, able to draw the foul even without making the bucket.
All right, Marietta leads Muskingum 21-18. That one's midway through the first half. Ohio Northern and Otterbein are tied at 18. John Carroll and Heidelberg, we don't have an update from that game yet. Let's see if we can get one. As Cam Coon's first free throw is up and good. It's John Carroll 18, Heidelberg 8, 12 minutes left in the first half. So the top 3 teams in the conference all taking care of business right now. And Wilmington is pouring it on Capital 22-10. Cam Coon hits them both, and he earns a breather after what honestly has been a nice start for him. Usually it's been a slow start for the sharpshooting junior lately, but nice to see him get going here early in the game.
Yeah, especially late, really a little bit of a struggle for Coon, but able to get off with a quick 7 points for him in this contest.
Stenger, right wing, gives up top. Foreman travel. That Muskingum-Marietta game tonight will be an interesting one to follow because Muskingum is not the same team that we're used to seeing in the OAC. They are far improved. In fact, both coaches openly and frequently praise their guard play and athleticism. That might be a sleeper tonight. Keep an eye on Muskingum and see if they could upset Marietta in the penultimate game of the regular season. Acquiring, beautiful feed to Nora, cutting to the basket. And Mike Fuline wants a timeout.
Yeah, really good pick and roll situation there between Acquiring and Nara. Able to find the big man on the pick and roll there off the switch, and easy two for the Yellow Jackets.
A 13-2 run for BW. They were down 6, now lead by 5. Our contest tonight brought to you by Dan Andrews and Olympic Forest Products, a global recycling company. By Domino's Pizza in Berea. Go online to Domino's.com or call 891-0030. And by the Ohio Education Credit Union. Gain the advantage and build your future today. The Yellow Jackets trying to take care of things on the offensive end of the floor early. They've hit 7 of their first 10, and they've contained D'Allen Jackson okay. Brian Schmidt told us before the game that Mount Union hasn't really skipped a beat without J.J. Kakura, who is also a tremendous player in this conference. But you can't help but wonder how his presence is being missed tonight. It's a guy who at one point earlier this year scored 40 in a game. He's the 4th leading scorer in the conference, and he's done for the year. The MK banks one home. He is having a nice effort so far.
Yeah, coming into this game, we talked about Mount Union being one of the more efficient three-point shooting teams, but tonight they've had 8 of their 14 come from the MK in the low post.
Working it around the perimeter, Acquiring. Kyle Nader down the baseline. Back to Acquiring, wide open look, and he puts it in.
Really a good offensive possession there by BW. Nader, rather, able to get it out to Nara, swing it over to Acquiring for the nice 3. Easy shot opportunity there for the Yellow Jackets.
Loose ball, it is deflected and stays with Mount Union.
Looks like they're going to say it went off the fingertip of Seaman there.
Jalo Niemke had a 27-point game against John Carroll on January 25th. He's only had 5 double-digit scoring games all year, and if you take the 27-point effort out, his best game was a 13-point night against Marietta, so that seemed like an especially good night for him, but he is off to a great start here. Kind of forced that one up there and didn't put a good look on it. Nara grabs the rebound. Acquiring raises a long 2-point jumper, too long. This game is equally meaningful for both teams, but probably in BW's eyes, there's more at stake. Mount Union trying to solidify the 4 seed in the tournament. They're hoping to host an OAC tournament game next Tuesday. Stenger swirls one home. But the Yellow Jackets have literally no idea how they're going to be positioned in the conference tournament. And they're hoping to solidify their position in the tournament with a win here tonight.
Yeah, both the top 3 and the bottom 3 in the conference really unsure of who will be playing who and who will be at home and who will be away. So really good closed conference play.
Acquiring another 3 ball. That one banked off the back left side of the rim and fell away. Half the first half behind us, and so far it's Baldwin Wallace ahead by 4. Jake Featheroff waits at the scorer's table. Jay Battle had been there and now goes back and sits down. Near side, Bauer Malone gives it up. They work to Stenger. He wants a 3, and it's pure. Neat shot there from Stenger. Quick, high release, swished it. Acquiring into the forecourt. Mike Kaminsky banks one into the low post there. It's Alex Nara trying the bank shot, no good. Nara claps his hands together in frustration after the miss.
Yeah, got a good opportunity there in the low post for Nara, unable to finish that one off. Definitely going to be something to look back at as we continue this game.
Easy slip through, beautiful pass from Friga. Down.
Walked right to the basket. Easy 2 there for the Purple Raiders.
That perfectly threaded the defense as Acquiring's layup drew contact but no foul. That pass reminded me of LeBron's pass last night, as does that one. What a look! Timeout, Mount Union. How about the no-look bounce pass from Friga? Mount Union getting it done full team style, and they've got a 3-point lead. Baldwin Wallace kind of sprawling here at the moment.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of an offensive and defensive struggle for the Yellow Jackets. Back-to-back easy missed shot opportunities for the Jackets. Definitely want those back, but only down by 3 right now. Very tight ball game heading into the second part of this first half.
I got to ask you, did you see LeBron's crazy pass last night?
I did not get a chance to watch the game.
Oh, man, he had a bounce pass, no look, through a defender's legs from right around the elbow down to the block. It was a transition play, and I forget which of his teammates dunked it in, but just an unbelievable pass. And he said after the game, when he was asked by a reporter, hey, did you see a replay of your pass? LeBron said, I don't need to see a replay. I saw it. It was the most efficient way for me to get him the ball. Who designs that in their head that quickly? Only LeBron James. Pretty impressive. All right, so it's a 3-point game as Featherolf bangs around in the paint, and the baby hook up and in.
A little height mismatch there for Featherolf, able to use it to his advantage. Get the nice little baby hook there in the paint.
Union Purple Raiders have had an interesting season. Here's a 3-ball left side. Easily put in on a very open look. Jeff Foreman got an easy shot. And usually Mount Union doesn't miss those. One of the top 3-point shooting teams in the country.
Yeah, talked about in the pregame, one of the more efficient teams, BW taking lots of them, Mount Union making more of them. So really a very efficient team.
Probably the biggest win of the season for Mount Union came early in the year as Jake Featherolf turns around and puts one in. Makes it a 2-point game. They beat Ohio Northern back on the 8th of December to get off to a 4-0 start at conference play. One pulled away, no good. Jake Featherolf on the rebound. Obviously, Ohio Northern's had a terrific year. They are very much in the race for a conference crown, especially come tournament time. Kaminsky feeds Featherolf. Jake, the drop step, and he was off the mark as Mike Fewline didn't like the lack of an offensive foul call there. Down the paint, Miles Griffin trying to get fancy. Didn't go in for him. Anyway, so Mount Union beats Ohio Northern, but not long after that, they turned around and lost to Otterbein. Of course, Otterbein, the bottom-ranked team in the conference right now. Michael Quiring to the rim, no good. Had a pregame conversation with Mike Fewline, and he said, if I'm being totally honest with you, it is so hard every single night to feel good about what you're doing because every team in this conference can beat you if you're not having a good game. There is no easy game in the OAC. Battle trying on the transition. He's going to the free throw line.
Yeah, but top to bottom in the conference, like you said, even in the postseason especially, you can't take any team lightly. Even if you're one of the top teams like Marietta, John Carroll, or ONU, those teams like Heidelberg and Baldwin Wallace that might be at the bottom of the conference this year still have a chance to beat you.
Such a guard-oriented league, but teams that typically have success in this conference on top of having solid guards have one dominant post player, and that seems to be what BW is missing right now. You look at the teams over the last 10 years that have had a lot of success. Kevin Knabb at Marietta, Malcolm Hurd down at Wilmington, just some really good, powerful big men. John Carroll's had a couple throughout the years. Matt Crozier was a really good player for them. And right now, Jake Featherolf is probably more of a stretch 4 than a true 5. I think most teams would tell you that he's BW's most consistent three-point shooter, and he's usually their biggest guy on the floor.
Yeah, definitely.
All tied at 26. D'Allen Jackson, left wing. Tried to protect the ball, gave it to Francisconi, and he definitely double dribbled. That's a Mount Union giveaway, their 5th. Jackets are not going to get many second chance points tonight, I'll tell you that. Because they're not doing a good job on the glass tonight. They're -6. And we've only played 12 minutes of basketball. 13 and a half minutes of basketball, I suppose. Cam Kuhn on the near side. Good feed underneath from Featherolf to Colombo. No foul called, and Colombo lost it out of bounds. What's interesting is BW's willingness to go underneath tonight. They've only attempted 3 threes.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic of the Yellow Jackets, like we said, shooting right around 33s a game, only 3 so far in the first part of this half.
De'Allen Jackson, so smooth. And it's a 28-20. Content to play in a half court today. Kuhn. Over to Colombo. And that is a foul on Francisconi. Kind of grabbed at Featherolf's wrist. The other thing that you like to see if you're BW, the nation's 5th best free throw shooting team, Mount Union has not attempted one so far tonight. Francisconi checks out. Thomas Mason, a junior forward from Marlington High School and Alliance, checks in. Inbound pass goes to Kuhn on a fresh clock. Zach Brandy on senior night with a great feed underneath, but Featherolf couldn't keep his hands on it. Zigzagging up the floor, Bauer Malone gives to Jackson. Always hold your breath when Jackson gets a look that open. Fortunate miss if you're a Yellow Jacket fan.
Yeah, knockdown three-point shooter shooting over 40% from deep on the year. Obviously, can't give him that look time and time again.
Featherolf a 3, too short. Colombo cleans it up, and he's fouled. 2 shots coming. He was in the act of shooting. This game's been played within a 12-point margin. Mount Union had a 6-point lead early. BW led 20-14 shortly after Mount Union burned a timeout. As Colombo goes to the stripe, and the freshman makes it a 1-point game. Of course, his older sister Mackenzie, a senior on the women's team, she'll have her senior night in an afternoon affair on Saturday when the team hosts Wilmington. Mount Union is hosting BW's women's team tonight, and they are about to get underway. Try to give you an update from that one later as the Yellow Jackets on the ladies' side have the 2 seed basically at their disposal, and that's big in the women's tournament. It's a different structure. They would get a bye all the way to the semis on Thursday next week. Good luck to them. Near side, Friga gives it away. Driving the baseline, Griffin goes to the corner. Jackson, 3-ball, good.
Yeah, 2 easy 3-point opportunities there by Jackson. Couldn't quite hit the first one, but they're left wide open, and he'll make you pay.
Jackson, a vocal defender as well, as he tries to bark out the pick play up top, and Jay Battle drove down the lane. Nice move. Nice
take there by Battle going to the right, able to slip just past Jackson there for the lay-in.
4 points for Battle. The Jackets, I thought BW trailed by 2. The scoreboard says 1. I'm not sure where I got mixed up on anything there. I apologize. Tyler Colombo kind of watched the drive right down the lane by him, and Friga scores easily. So Battle, near side. He had a 20-point game against Mount Union last time out, and back-to-back buckets for Jay Battle. He's got 6 points at the moment. BW within 1.
Battle able to get in that pick-and-roll situation with Featherolf, able to get Phillips to switch onto him, and he had the speed mismatch and took him right to the hole.
Thomas Mason nearly traveled. Stenger working on Cam Kuhn here. Boy, his quick release, his money. Foot was on the 3-point line, just a long 2.
Yeah, really a high, quick release, able to really get over the defender, knock down the easy jump shot.
3 minutes left in the first half. BW's done a nice job. They've only committed 1 foul the whole half, and they've kind of maintained Jackson as well as they possibly could. Jay Battle starting to get hot, and BW now within 3. Beg your pardon, they've tied the game. Miles Griffin slipped on the baseline. I wonder if we're going to see them try and wipe up the floor. Griffin hit the deck hard. Looked like his foot just went right out from underneath him.
Yeah, lost his footing and really smacked off the floor and gingerly jogging down the court. Hopefully just a little bruise there and he'll be all right.
And I think Mount Union is saying, hey, we need to wipe up the floor. Maybe not. All right, play on. 35 all, final 2.5 minutes of the first half. Updates coming at our next dead ball from other games around the conference. Battle with 9 straight points. Colombo lost it. Trying to get it back, still loose. Brandy picks it up. Kuhn for 3, no good. Just a little long. Numbers for the Raiders. And Friga had one thing on his mind, and that was to score the basketball.
Yeah, came down with the rebound and just took it coast to coast, put his head to the hole and laid it in for the nice 2.
Jay Battle back to the top. Colombo, a long shot. Longer than he usually shoots, though we'll put that 15 to 18 footer up every once in a while. Misfires on a 3. Mike Fuline standing with his arms folded across his chest in front of his own bench. He was watching his star player try and beat a big man off the dribble. After the switch, Jackson gives it free. Griffin with 8 to shoot in the corner. We haven't seen the shot clock be too much of a factor tonight. And a foul with 4 seconds left on the timer as Friga tried to bounce pass in to Niemke. John Carroll leads Heidelberg 37-21 late in the first half. Ohio Northern is all of a sudden thumping Otterbein. This game was tied at 18. It's now 45-23 Ohio Northern. Goodness gracious.
Wow.
As I expected, Muskingum is giving Marietta a good game. The Pioneers lead 40-39 at halftime. And Capital has responded nicely after a putrid start. It's 40-34 Wilmington on top of Capital late first half. 2-point game here in Berea as Battle nearly poked one away from Jackson. Stenger looks for some help. Jackson nearly walked around Nora, forced it up. How did he find the bottom of the net? Under a minute to go, Jackson's got a modest 11 points. Battle dribbled to the corner, picked it up. That's a dangerous play. Trying to lull Niemke to sleep. He beat him. Silky smooth pass to Nader, and he buries the triple. Gorgeous sequence for BW.
Battle able to cross up Niemke there. Got past him on the dribble, drove right through, and had the nice dish to Nader for the open 3.
About a 2.5 second difference between game and shot clock here. Mount Union will try to use most of it. Purple Raiders lead by 1 in the final seconds here of the first half. Jackson. Wow, everybody went leaping up in the air. Goes off a Yellow Jacket out of bounds with 4 to shoot. Who will inbound for Mount Union? Well, Mike Kaminsky's going to check in. That's not a big surprise as Ben Chase leaves the floor. They want the size there from Kaminsky defensively on Niemke. Alex Nara will not guard the inbound. His back is to the Purple Raider inbounder. Admittedly, I can't see who that is at the moment. Although I believe it's Friga. Well, there's a foul. That's the last thing BW wanted to do, although it's only their second foul, so not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. A late sub here, Jeff Foreman checks out of the game. Thomas Mason takes his spot. Now Battle leaves, Zach Brandy returns. Interesting to see Battle leave the floor with his defensive prowess.
Yeah, definitely.
That's an offensive foul. Brandy drew it. And Tom Heil looks like a genius.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's forgotten more basketball than I'll ever know. I don't mean to question him. I just thought it was a interesting observation to see Battle and his intensity check out of the game in that moment. But Tom clearly had the right thing in mind.
Yeah, especially with the game plan they have going into the game, with Battle being the primary defender on Jackson.
Final seconds of the first half. Cam Kuhn doesn't get it off in time. It was fairly well defended by Mount Union, but Kuhn probably passed up his open look behind the three-point line. And we have a 39-38 score as both teams go into the locker room. Baldwin Wallace has played okay. They were digging themselves an early hole, but quickly put the brakes on a big Mount Union first half. And this game has gotten much tighter. 1 point affair going to halftime. The Purple Raiders on top. We'll take a timeout, bring you first half numbers when we come back next on BWYellowJackets.com. Halftime at Baldwin Wallace with the Yellow Jackets trailing the Mount Union Purple Raiders 39-38. It's been a tightly contested affair so far. Jalo Niemke has really done a nice job off the bench. 10 points in 10 minutes, 5 of 7 shooting. He's pretty athletic in that low post, and it's made a big difference tonight. De'Allen Jackson, you kind of know going into things, look, he's going to get his, and he's got 11 points already. But I think the Jackets are doing a good job of clamping down defensively in other areas. They just need to start finding better opportunities, and somehow Mount Union isn't going to shoot 60% in the second half.
Yeah, like you said, Niemke really having a good game, really efficient there in the low post, and Jackson having a quiet 11. Really doesn't seem like he scored 11, but he's going to get his, like you said, shooting 5 of 8 from the floor, really an efficient scorer. And BW had some good looks in the first half, shot over 50% from both the field and from 3, so really not a whole lot more you can ask for from the Yellow Jackets. Going to have to keep it up in the second half and play a little tighter defense, and things should go their way in the second half.
So 4 offensive rebounds for Mount Union on 30 shots means they had 26 possessions, and or I should say 26, and then you add the 7 turnovers. So that's 33 total possessions for Mount Union in the first half, and in 33 possessions they scored on 18 of them. Again, you like the way that BW has defended against De'Allen Jackson, but I think it's worth stressing they have to defend at a more efficient level if they want to try and find themselves on top here at the end of the game.
Yeah, those turnovers and that rebound differential are really going to be big for them going into the second half. They have to improve upon those stats if they want to get back into this game.
BW's been led by Jay Battle, who really had a nice first half. In fact, he scored on 3 straight possessions, 7 of his 9 points during that stretch, but finished the first half on a perfect 3 for 3 shooting from the floor. Cam Coon, 7 points, 2 of 4 shooting, including a 3-ball, 6 from Jake Featherolf, 4 from Alex Nora off the bench, and 3 from Kyle Nader, who knocked one down on one of the 2 Jay Battle assists in the first half. Always good to see BW have more assists than turnovers. That's fine. But again, they've got to do a better job on the glass, too. Only 9 rebounds in half number 1. But it is a tightly contested affair, we can tell you that much. And when we come back, we'll have the second half underway. Big game between Mount Union and BW, and the second half is coming your way next on BWYellowJackets.com. Time for the second half as Mount Union and BW have hopefully made their adjustments in the locker room. And we are just about to get underway. For 21 points, and they've hit 10 of the team's 18 first half shots. Baldwin Wallace with more balance. Nobody for BW in double figures. But Jay Battle, Cam Kuhn, and Jake Featherolf all had nice first halves. And it's the Jackets that start the second half with the basketball. Our game tonight brought to you by the Hoffman Group. They're an Oswald company and handle all of your risk management and insurance needs. By Medical Mutual of Ohio, the official healthcare provider of BW. And the Comfort Inn in Middleburg Heights, where your comfort is just a part of the service that we provide our guests. And Brandy out there to get rolling in the second half. Featherolf gets his own rebound. Battle was looking to pass the whole time and adjusted midair with a nice layup.
Yeah, got him off his feet there and then took him right baseline and able to finish with the up and under move for the reverse.
So he leads the Jackets now, first one into double figures with 11. On the top of the key, Mount Union gives it away as Bauer Malone runs the point. This is a long three from the right side, missed by Miles Griffin. Battle and company the other way. Kaminsky a little slow up the floor. And Jay Battle's going to the free throw line here.
Battle starting to get into attack mode here as we open the second half. Possibility for two here to increase his total for the half to 4.
Jay Battle's such a special young guy. Doesn't take long of having a conversation with him to realize how intelligent he is. He's driven, he's smart. Really good kid. He's the kind of guy, certainly on the floor, but off the floor too, that Tom Heil wants to build his team around. Battle's free throws both pure.
Yeah, and even in the beginning of the season, he had to take a 5-game back seat to Michael Quiring. Coach Heil decided that he wanted to give him a couple starts, and Battle took it in stride and has really bounced back from that and able to get back his starting role.
Problem with Battle getting going is it might fuel D'Allen Jackson, who immediately went to the can, and that one was lost out of bounds and stays with Mount Union. Last thing you want to do is fuel D'Allen Jackson's fire. Hopefully it will just keep Battle at a high level. Jackson will never be the biggest guy on the floor, but he plays with enormous heart. And one of the things that Mike Feuline said before the game was how much he appreciates his basketball IQ. Nice lay in there, makes it a 42-41 game. Nathan Bauer Malone, the freshman from Stowe, with a nice effort so far tonight.
Yeah, really nice take there by Bauer Malone, able to get to the paint and lay it in for the easy 2.
In fact, he said that Mike did, continuing a thought that his team has such a high basketball IQ. Battle blows an open layup there. Zach Brandy with a nice feed down low. Griffin passes off, now to the left corner. Jackson looking for space. Creates his way to the rim and scores.
Yeah, took it right to the rim there with Jackson able to use the body to create some separation off the Battle and lay it in for the 2.
Well, Skingham's Jarrell Marsh, Mount Union's D'Allen Jackson, John Carroll's David Linane. Those are probably the top 3 guards in the league, but Jackson having a nice night with 13. Battle matched up against Griffin, raises, is a little long, and Featherolf, volleyball style, tips it in, and he got fouled. Featherolf slow to get up as he got drilled from behind. He'll shoot one free throw if he's able to continue. Tom Heil came over to make sure that his big man was okay. Jake really got tied up.
Looks like he even gotten high load there. Guy's body is going to the floor. One guy went high on him, tried to get the rebound. Another one stumbled and went low. Hopefully Federolf's all right.
And the officials here are going to talk about this. I imagine they're probably discussing the leniency or maybe lack thereof of the foul. At the moment, just a common foul. Also gives Featherolf a chance to catch his breath. Admittedly, there really was no play on the ball, but I'm not sure how malicious the intent was.
Yeah, not sure if it was a slip or what exactly the issue was there.
So as the officials come to a conclusion, I'll share that with the coaching staffs. Muskingum and Marietta, the game of the night in conference. The Pioneers have woken up a little bit in the second half. It's 55-47. Marietta on top. They are the leader in the conference right now. Wilmington. They just now start the second half. And John Carroll is playing Heidelberg in a game that has been pretty lopsided. The Blue Streaks on the road, and as they start the second half, it's a 16-point game, and that's one of the closer margins in that one of late. Still discussing what's going on. Again, the layup on the tip-in was good from Featheroff. He lined up like he was going to the free throw line. You would think that it was a and one shooting foul, but maybe we have some different decision coming. Meanwhile, Tommy Stenger checks in, and Michael Quiring comes on as well.
For Featheroff there.
And actually, so since Featheroff can't continue, BW has to sub someone else in. It's Zach Brandy. I imagine Mount Union got a chance to pick that free throw shooter. So Brandy is going to the stripe on the year. Zach Brandy only 69%, but he cashes in there. All right, 3 points for Brandy. It's 45-43 in the early second half. D'Allen Jackson behind the head pass. Francisconi can't capitalize, but he'll go to the charity stripe. Man, D'Allen Jackson just sees things differently than everybody else here at the Division III level.
Yeah, really great court vision there, able to find the open shot there. Really a beautiful pass behind the head, like you said, really unreal at the Division III level.
Francisconi's free throw is good. We played basketball for over 22 minutes, and these are Mount Union's first free throws of the night. A team that makes, on average, 16 out of 20 per game. Fifth best team in the country from the free throw line out of more than 330 teams that play Division III basketball. We are tied at 45. Kaminsky. Back to Cam Kuhn. Brandy comes to it, launches, and is too short. Jackson off and running. Battle trying to help him out. Oh, wow. What a spin move. D'Allen Jackson gives Mount Union back the lead.
Yeah, really broke off Brandy there. Nice spin move there by Jackson. Easy lay-in for him.
15 for Jackson. That was nasty. Brandy in the corner. Kaminsky fighting for positioning in the post. Battle on the hesitation, is able to beat Griffin, slipped it up there but missed. Quiring on the rebound, gives to Kaminsky, who's three unloaded long. Here's Brandy on a third opportunity, and he'll shoot free throws. That one's on Jackson, just his first. Brandy going to the line, trying to continue a solid trend. The Jackets a perfect 9 for 9 from the free throw stripe tonight. And it's 10 of 10 on Brandy's first. The Emke returns to the floor, as does Tyler Colombo. Kyle Nader waiting to check back in. On senior night, the senior from Hudson hits them both. If you can't smile watching D'Allen Jackson play basketball, you're not paying attention. This kid is unbelievable.
Yeah, all-around great player is Jackson.
The MK under the basket, and he got hit checked by Colombo. So after going 22 minutes without getting to the free throw line, Mount Union's going 2 times in 2 possessions. Jackson leads all scorers with 15. Battle, a nice night, 13 points. And the MK looking for a couple of his. Actually, they're going to say, you know what, it's on the floor, not a shooting foul.
Yeah, no continuation at the collegiate level, so that one will be on the floor.
The MK against Alex Nara. He short-armed it. Quiring grabs the rebound. I don't often see Michael Quiring grabbing balls off the misses, but that's a couple here in the last 60 seconds for him. Nara fakes left, drives right, and forgot the ball. Hit him in the knee, and it's a turnover. This one's the teams. We'll see which team is able to come up with a big win. Only one more game left in the regular season. It comes your way Saturday. BW will be on the road down at Wilmington. Mount Union plays Otterbein. Jackson, so good.
Wow.
3-ball in.
Really an all-around scorer, able to rise up from deep there, but as we've seen time and time again, they're able to take it inside as well.
He's got 18, and the scary thing is he's just getting started. Great backdoor look. Kuhn to Nora for 2. Terrific find. Allen Jackson, seems like a nightly basis that he's over 20 points, leads the conference in scoring, just under 20 a game. Battle picks up the loose ball on the baseline. Cam Kuhn along the right wing. Of course, Jackson coming off a Player of the Week nomination as Cam Kuhn misses on his 3-ball. Back last week, really impressive week as Stenger misses kind of awkwardly, and then Quiring traveled. Jackson last week had 36 points in the triple overtime contest, or I beg your pardon, they had 36 against Muskingum, 21 the triple overtime game against Heidelberg. Jackson won his second OAC Player of the Week of the year. Long shot from the corner, no good. He's only gone over 30 twice this year, but he's capable of doing it, and he's on pace for it tonight. Kuhn is wide open, catch and shoot. He bricks it off the window.
Really uncharacteristic of Kuhn there.
Jackson step back 3. His teammates were ready to lose their minds. Instead, Stenger the offensive rebound, and he missed it. The MK trying to rip it away from Kuhn. Instead, a jump ball called. BW and Mount Union fighting and fighting. Possession arrow favors the visitors in purple. Jackson. And Francisconi denied. Stenger had some space, lobbed it underneath. Nader tipped it to Niemke, who missed the layup. A chance to take the lead for Baldwin Wallace. Kuhn saw an opening, went from his right to his left hand, missed on the mid-air adjustment. Foreman looking around, and he's out of control on his way down the lane. That one finally bounced out of bounds and goes back to BW. Tonight's Yellow Jacket basketball game brought to you by the Cleveland Clinic Sports Health Division, the official healthcare provider for BW Athletics. By American International. If you require a company with proven performance, rely on American International. And by the Crown Plaza in Middleburg Heights, just up the street here from Baldwin Wallace. Nora has it top of the arc. BW trying to get to the 8-win mark in conference play and maybe give them a more favorable game in the OAC tournament. There's a chance they could play Mount Union in less than a week's time. How did that one slip up and in? Nifty move from Zach Brandy.
Yeah, fade away there from the low post by Brandy, able to drive and get some separation there for the really tricky shot.
7 points for Brandy on senior night. Tom Heil says nobody works harder than Zach Brandy. He loves having the senior on the floor because he knows his motor is always at 100%. Mount Union turnover, and the Jackets get it back. Miles Griffin returns for Andrew Francisconi, the Talmadge product. BW by 1 in what has been a much tighter second half. Not that the first half was uncompetitive. Quiring gives to Nader. Half the shot clock behind him. Kyle Nader, athletic burst into the paint. And BW leads by 3. Jackson with 18. Battle leads the Jackets with 13. Nader has 5 now after the layup. Stenger gets the screen from Griffin. Through back to Jackson right side.
Wow.
Even when there's no opening, D'Allen Jackson finds a way to the rim. He's got 20 again.
Crazy finish there by Jackson. Really special player for the Purple Raiders.
His athleticism tonight, par for the course for Mount Union, but it's off the charts for anybody else. Jay Battle back to the rim, proving he could play at that high level. Probably the two best athletes on the floor if you combine the two rosters, Jackson and Battle, and it's our treat to see the two of them guarding each other most of the night. Stenger gives it near side. Foreman. 8 to shoot for Stenger. Quiring tries to face guard him. The fadeaway created a little bit of space, but it rattled away.
Really not the best opportunity there for the Purple Raiders. Stenger there, not a great shot.
Shooting percentage coming down a little bit. See if the Jackets can come up with a few big defensive stops.
Yeah,
They got the lead though.
Like we said at halftime, shooting 60%, really can't expect to keep that up for the entire game. Really a good job defensively by the Yellow Jackets.
Nader again, and a blocking foul is called. Not sure Niemke agreed. His feet were probably set, although admittedly I think they were beyond the half circle.
Yeah, it might have been in that restricted area, was Niemke.
His first, team 4. Midway through the second half, Kyle Nader goes to the free throw line where BW hasn't missed tonight. With that make, they are 12 of 12. Nader on the season is only a 59% free throw shooter. Featherolf comes back in as Jay Battle leaves the floor. Niemke also replaced. Really, essentially it looks like 5 guards out there for Mount Union. No real size. Actually, Featherolf will stay on instead, as Nader's free throw is good. It's Brandy that leaves the floor. So BW with a decisive height advantage at the moment. See how that plays in here. No Battle on the floor. Quiring trying to go against Jackson, and he traveled with the ball. Timeout, Mount Union. Baldwin Wallace 57, Mount Union 52, and the Jackets are playing inspired basketball on senior night. Midway through the second half in Berea. All right, the Yellow Jackets and Purple Raiders in a 5-point game midway through the second half. And while we have a quick second, would like to congratulate the Baldwin Wallace wrestling team. The Yellow Jackets for the second consecutive year OAC champions. They went to Alliance last night and defeated Mount Union. And so they won the outright conference championship. Had they lost last night, it would have been a co-championship. But BW went to Alliance, took care of business, and for the second year in a row after having a nearly 45-year hiatus, BW is OAC champs on the wrestling mat. Congratulations to Jamie Gibbs and his entire team. Look forward to seeing their work in the NCAA regionals soon. Jackets lead on the hard court tonight by 5 over the Purple Raiders. Quiring, Kaminsky, Kuhn, Colombo, and Nader for BW at the moment. As Kaminsky steps back for a 3-ball, and he puts it in.
Good ball movement there by the Yellow Jackets, able to find Kaminsky in the corner for the nice 3.
Largest lead of the game for the Yellow Jackets. They're on a 7-0 run. Nice move down the lane, but Friga forgot to finish. Quiring has it for BW.
Looks like he was trying to slam it home there, but couldn't quite get it through the rim.
Quiring on the runner. Nifty move. And BW leads by 10.
It's like a little Matthew Dellavedova runner there for Quiring.
That's not a bad comparison for BW's young point guard. Jackson gives way. Griffin the fake and drive and kick back. Friga lost the handle. Another mistake by Friga, who gets the ball back. 6 to shoot. Slashing to the hoop, battling through the blocked attempt. And Devontae Friga, in his first start in a long time, puts it in. That halts the BW run at 9 straight points. And Jackets still out front decisively. A win for BW puts them in a much more favorable position come tournament time next weekend, but still seeding to be decided as Kaminsky's long two is good.
Foot on the line there from Kaminsky. Nice pass by Quiring for the jump shot.
A loss for Mount Union puts their 4th seed and hosting hopes in danger as Jackson tried to pass to Friga underneath, and it was a Yellow Jacket that picked it up. Cam Kuhn just caught that one purely reactionarily, then steps back for a 3. That would have been Cam Kuhn-esque had he put it in, as Tom Heil says, hold on a second. Let's make sure we draw up a better play. Ten-point game. Kaminsky for 3. And he missed it well short. Jackson racing up the floor all the way to the rim and missed it. Got his own rebound and was fouled before shooting it. Jackson leading all scorers with 20. 9 of 14 shooting the rock tonight. Capital has roared back in the second half. They've doubled up Wilmington and they lead 71-62 with 12 minutes to go. Marietta must have sleptwalked into the locker room, but they are blowing out Muskingum in the second half, and it's now an 18-point game. So that one's looking good for the Marietta Pioneers, who will win at least a share of the conference title tonight, should they finish with a win. Battle, no good. Jackson had the rebound, but Tyler Colombo grabbed onto his wrist. Meanwhile, Ohio Northern is, I think they're still playing basketball, but I'm not really sure what Otterbine's doing tonight, losing 66-34.
Wow.
And John Carroll is at Heidelberg. The Student Princes have tightened it up, but the Blue Streaks still have a 7-point lead midway through the second half. Ohio Northern and Marietta in the game of the week, and maybe the game of the year on Saturday. If the Polar Bears win, then they will have a share of the conference crown with the Pioneers. And if John Carroll wins on Saturday, there could be a 3-way tie for the OAC regular season title. Foul in the paint is on Kaminsky. Should those 3 teams finish tied for first, of course, Marietta, Ohio Northern, and John Carroll, the seeding would be Ohio Northern number 1, John Carroll number 2, and Marietta, who you could argue is the best overall team of the 3.
Yeah.
They would actually be the 3 seed. Another foul on the sideline. That's the 6th on BW here in the second half. Marietta's the 9th ranked team in the country. They blew out Worcester and Christopher Newport, both early in the regular season, and struck up some big national headlines. In fact, there were some teams that had given them first place votes in the D3Hoops.com top 25. Marietta currently sits at 9th in the nation. Jackets are at the limit defensively with a 10-point lead. Jackson trying to drive on Battle. Step back 3. Good from Bauer Malone, but his foot was on the line. So it's only a 2. That's 4 for Bauer Malone. Dylan Nito's in the ball game, by the way. Dylan Nito, a young man from St. Ignatius High School. Really athletic player. His older brother Cole, a senior on the baseball team here. And pretty darn good baseball player. Battle, no good from the baseline with the shot clock dwindling, I should say. Jackson in transition. How did he almost put that in? Instead, Foreman cleans up the window.
Nice second chance opportunity there by Foreman, able to clean up the banked 3-point attempt by Jackson.
64-58. Baldwin Wallace by 6 with 6.5 minutes to go in Berea. Your thoughts on the way this one's shaking out so far?
Really a good defensive game plan going into the game for the Yellow Jackets. Deciding not to really switch a whole lot off of Jackson. Proved to be effective in the first half, but kind of sort of getting away from that in the second half has really been to their detriment. Both teams really playing at a pace that they want to play at. Mount Union more of a half court, and BW kind of mixing it up between that transition game and the half court. So really a good game plan being executed by both sides. Tight contest as we head into the final 6.5 minutes here.
BW has only hit 1 3-ball in the second half, 1 of 8. Hopefully that will start trending in a better direction here soon. We'll be right back just a minute here on BWYellowJackets.com. Baldwin Wallace by 6 in the second to last game of the regular season. It's the final home game of the year for BW, who will have to go to Wilmington on Saturday and then to somebody in the OAC tournament. Could they be headed to a second straight game, or I should say second game in 3 with Mount Union next Tuesday night? We'll find out if the Jackets are going back to Alliance on Monday, or I should say on Saturday when the season wraps up. In the meantime, BW trying to finish off here. Brandy a long 3, and it was halfway down before bursting free. 6-point game with 6 minutes to go, and it feels like this could go right down to the wire. Space up top for Francisconi. Bauer Malone, no good. Jackson jarred it loose and gave him enough room. A foul on the near side. You know, Jackson didn't come down with a rebound, but he was able to keep the ball bouncing away.
Yeah.
And Mount Union is going to the free throw line here.
Him and Battle really had a good fight for the rebound there. Bauer Malone able to get that one and draw the foul. He'll be at the line now.
Nathan Bauer Malone, a former Stowe Monroe Falls Bulldog in high school. Loose on the floor and nearly grabbed his own rebound.
Yeah.
The Jackets did not box out well enough.
Snatched away from Nora there.
Only 3 free throw attempts all night for the Purple Raiders. That's very unlike them. Kuhn lost the handle. Here comes Bauer Malone with Battle right on his heels, and Bauer Malone scores. Mount Union is doing everything they can to keep this game tight. Mount Union's only had 1 game all year where they've shot fewer than 10 free throws. Purple Raiders caused another turnover. That was against Marietta in an 82-75 loss 2 weeks ago tonight. Down 4, a chance to cut it to 2 or 1. Here is a 3-ball, and Quiring grabs the rebound. UW looks like they're running in quicksand right now. It's kind of a slow pace.
Not really a whole lot of that transition game working for him right now, getting to more of those half-court sets.
Kuhn, high percentage look and gets it. Timeout Baldwin Wallace. Tom Heil says, all right, let's take a 30-second stoppage, catch our breath, and make sure we can still defend at the level we want to. Kuhn's only got 9 points tonight, but he's done a nice job when he hasn't been scoring the basketball. Even if he's not scoring at a high level, he can still make a big impact, and BW is feeding off of his success here tonight.
Yeah, and even going forward, that's a good sign for BW. Kuhn, in the next year, going into his senior season, will have to transition into more of a playmaker, distributor, and facilitator rather than just an isolation scorer. He's really done a good job of transitioning into that this year, and hopefully he can carry that into the postseason play and into next year to make this team really effective.
Mount Union won the first matchup 90-81. It was the first game of the new calendar year on January 4th. BW leads this one by 6. The Purple Raiders have won 2 of their last 3, but have played overtime games in their last 2 affairs. They lost in overtime to Heidelberg. They won a 3 overtime game against Muskingum last Wednesday night. Some noise from the BW bench trying to rile up the defense. Kaminsky hedged the screen nicely. Jackson left side, beats Battle, passes it instead. Bauer Malone gives it free, and an up and under move. Good for Thomas Mason, who tripped after scoring. Mason, his first basket of the game. Brandy, the senior, in his final home game of his career, and one.
Great finish there by Brandy, able to finish through the contact. He'll go to the line for his 10th point of the night.
Zach Brandy, a finance and an accounting double major, one of the brightest guys on the team, and as I mentioned earlier, one of Tom Heil's hardest workers. 10 points for him on senior night. Great effort by Brandy, who checks out for a moment here. Brandy would like nothing more than for his team to come out on top regardless of his own stat line. It's a 3-possession game. Jackson dicing his way back and forth, gives it free. Mason loose on the floor. Kaminsky sort of got tangled up. We'll wait and see what the call is here. It was incidental contact. It was certainly not meant to be that way. And as everybody is pulled apart, it is a jump ball and goes back to BW. Kaminsky's all right. He's battled some sore knees throughout the course of the year. Almost every practice you see him walking around, he's always joking, saying, I'm the old guy on the team. He's not even a senior. But Kaminsky, whose father's in the stands, of course his dad played here. Long family lineage for Mike. Jay Battle to the rim. How did he sneak that one in there? 71-62, Battle's got 17. Jackets by 9. Bauer Malone, blue by Cam Kuhn. Timeout Mount Union. Full timeout called for by the Purple Raiders. 8 points for the freshman Nathan Bauer Malone. We'll step aside too with just over 3 minutes to go. The Jackets have the lead, but this one is going right down to the wire in Berea. Stick with us on BWYellowJackets.com. Baldwin Wallace 71, Mount Union 64. Tight game going down to the wire in Berea. Our men's basketball game tonight and the final men's basketball home game of the year brought to you by Parkway Auto Care in Berea, Strongsville Express Tire and Automotive, and Montville Express Tire and Automotive. They serve the southwestern suburbs of Greater Cleveland. By the Courtyard by Marietta and Town Place Suites in Middleburg Heights. And finally by Valley Ford Truck. If you need a big job done right, call Valley Ford Truck. We carry the load for BW. Jackets have the basketball and the lead with just over 3 minutes to go on their home floor. Thanks for tuning in tonight on BWYellowJackets.com. Battle all the way to the rim, but it was partially deflected. Maybe he was hit on the wrist, but no foul called. Instead, Bauer Malone, who's heating up, lost his shoe, scored anyways. And that slows the frantic pace for a minute. Mount Union controls its own destiny to a home game as the 4th seed in the tournament. But if they want that to be the case, they need to come up with a road win tonight, or else they might need some help on Saturday. The Jackets with a 5-point lead late, doing everything they can to have a more favorable matchup and not have to go to Marietta right away in the conference tournament. Who knows where the Pioneers will finish. Kuhn pulls up from the keyhole, and that's short out of his hand. Nader returning for Zach Brandy. Brandy 3 of 5 from the floor, 4 of 4 from the stripe, 10 points for him. By the way, the Jackets have hit all 14 free throws tonight. That cannot be overlooked in a tight game late. Only 3 free throws attempted all night for Mount Union. An open 3, it's no good from Francisconi, and the rebound pulled in cleanly by Kaminsky. I think the clock stopped, and so they'll bring the ball out of bounds for a moment. Mount Union has shot the ball well in terms of their shooting percentage tonight, but from beyond the three-point line, they are 10% worse than usual. And from the free throw line, well, they're averaging 20 free throws attempted per game. They've only gotten there 3 times. So give the Jackets credit. They've allowed Mount Union to get to the basket, but they've taken away both the 3 and the free throws. And I thought in the pregame we kind of touched on that being difficult to do.
Really a good game plan by Coach Heil. Like I said kind of before, Battle been the primary defender on Jackson, not really switching off him a whole lot, even in the pick and roll, really limiting him a little bit here. But yeah, really a good job on that perimeter defense, forcing them to take the ball inside. And when they do get inside, not a lot of contact by the Jackets. Only 3 free throw attempts on the evening for the Purple Raiders.
So they took 3 seconds off the shot clock, but they have not adjusted the game clock. And I think the game clock had stopped when the officials had blown play dead, but I think the clock had been stopped for a short while before that. So we'll see what the final adjustment is. I'm sure the referees are using some sort of a reference point when they last looked up at the clock to double check it. .208 currently sits on the clock in a 5-point game. All right, scores across the conference. Capital 81, Wilmington 75. That game has 5 minutes left, so it's tight late in Capital. Marietta is beating Muskingum by 20 points. They were up only 1 at halftime. That's an awfully impressive second half turnaround for the conference's elite team, the Marietta Pioneers. Otterbein is at Ohio Northern tonight, and it has not been a good night for the Cardinals. 98-53 with a minute to go. Ohio Northern is on cruise control. John Carroll is at Heidelberg. It's also a fairly tight game late, but the Blue Streaks have an 81-73 lead on the road. They've decided to leave the clock exactly where it is, 2:08 with 25 on the shot clock. Play on. 5-point game. Kaminsky with the rock. BW in white, Mount Union in purple. Acquiring drives the baseline. Kaminsky a 3-ball. He hit another! Mike Kaminsky!
That corner really a nice spot for Kaminsky, able to hit there twice now this evening.
Bauer Malone tucked it, scored it, and the foul. Tom Heil can't believe that the foul was called. He must have felt, as you mentioned earlier, there is no continuation in college basketball. He must have felt that that foul occurred before the shot attempt, but not in the eyes of the officials.
I believe we had an instance earlier this year where they mistakenly did call a continuation, if I recall, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Really interesting in that
Nathan
game.
Bauer Malone misses the free throw, though, so it's 74-68. Mount Union has 1 foul to give. BW's over the limit. Both teams 3 timeouts at their disposal in the final 90 seconds. Randy gives it free. Kuhn. Stenger may have fouled him, no call. Kaminsky, 5 to shoot. This is Battle. Has to throw it up there. No good. Purple Raiders came down in a tight spot, and I think Cam Kuhn just got caught up in a bad place. That's a tough call against Baldwin Wallace. 1:10 to go. That's the 9th foul on BW, so still 1-1. That's Kuhn's first. Mount Union, a decent team on the road this year. They're getting all they can handle in Berea. Their only trip to Baldwin Wallace this season. Bauer Malone, 1-1. And he got the first. So the Raiders have hit 3 of 5 from the free throw line. Miles Griffin returning. It's Thomas Mason that leaves. Hope you'll stick around for our post-game coverage where Tom Heil is scheduled to join us after we wrap things up here tonight. Bauer Malone got them both. 4-point effort. That's 14 for Bauer Malone. Battle, double teamed, one-handed pass. Zach Brandy missed the open layup. Kuhn got it back and he missed it.
Wow.
BW racing back defensively. Got to refocus here. Stenger. No good. Brandy dribbling to a tough spot. The pressure was there. And now Mount Union has to foul. Boy, the Yellow Jackets with their hearts in their throats.
Yeah.
And the Purple Raiders couldn't hit the big 3 ball to make it hurt even more. That's only the 6th Mount Union foul. So no free throws coming yet. That's the 3rd, though, against Andrew Francisconi. Kuhn on the inbound. Kaminsky, and he's fouled quickly. Kaminsky 74% from the free throw line on the season. But again, BW hasn't missed a free throw tonight, folks. They're 14 of 14. It's Kaminsky's first trip. 10 points, 5 boards for him. Battle leading the Jackets with 17 points. 10 for Zach Brandy in his final home game of his career. 1-1 for Mike Kaminsky in a big spot here. Got it. To make it a 6-point game. The arena falls quiet. And he swished them both. BW by 6. They call a timeout, but remember, this is the most efficient 3-point shooting team in the conference in Mount Union. A 6-point lead is anything but safe with 35 seconds to play.
Yeah, still a very close game, even with only 35 left. Nothing is safe here. When you have a team like Mount Union, you can shoot the 3 ball as well as they can.
All right, it's official. The Marietta Pioneers have beaten Muskingum. An 18-point win, 94-76. So the Muskies fall to 7-10. Of course, if BW wins, they would climb to 7-10. Capital trying to get to 7-10. Heidelberg unlikely to get there. They're trailing at home against John Carroll, but it's not over yet. And Ohio Northern has beaten Otterbein 98-55.
Wow.
So the Polar Bears are 14-3. With tonight's Marietta win, they are 15-2. They at least have a share of the OAC crown and could win it outright when they meet Ohio Northern in Marietta Saturday. But all the energy and focus is down in Berea right now. Stenger gives over to Bauer Malone. Contested 3. He hit it anyways. Timeout, Mount Union.
Wow.
Tough shot. 17 for Bauer Malone.
Nice step back 3 there, able to rise over the defender and knock down the clutch 3-point shot there was Bauer Malone.
Bauer Malone with all 17 points in the second half. What an effort from him. All right, so Baldwin Wallace with a 76-73 lead.
inbound play here is huge. You got to think that Mount Union's going to press the issue here, being down 1 possession with only 22 seconds left. If they don't, a quick foul. With BW being 16-16 right now from the line, you got to like their chances going forward.
Bauer Malone, 7 of 10 shooting. He's 7 of 9 in the second half. His resurrection. And honestly, Jallo Niemke really hasn't done much at all. He hasn't scored in the second half, and he hasn't been nearly the same kind of presence.
He hasn't really been played really a whole lot either.
You're right. Limited minutes here in half number 2. Which might be a little surprising because Mount Union was really efficient with him when they were getting those high percentage looks. I know they were getting away from their typical game plan, but interesting decision by Mike Fuline. That's how he's chosen to go with it. All right, Brandy, Battle, Quiring, Kuhn, and Kaminsky. 5 good ball handlers. And of the 5, only 1 really is a big man. The other 4 are pretty small guards. Brandy thought about the baseball toss. Instead goes to Battle, who is immediately fouled by Francisconi. So Mount Union will let Baldwin Wallace play the free throw game. BW 16 for 16 from the free throw line tonight. Foreman, Francisconi, Jackson, Stenger, and Bauer Malone out there for Mount Union. 1-1. Got the first. That's the big one because now it's a 2-possession game. This would be icing on the cake, and Tom Heil wants a full timeout. So the Jackets will think about it. Can't call them once the game is over, so you might as well use them while you have them. 2 remaining for BW, 1 timeout left for the Purple Raiders. 22 seconds to play. The Jackets lead by 4 with a free throw coming after the break. You're listening to Yellow Jackets basketball on BWYellowJackets.com. It's about to get really chaotic in the Ohio Athletic Conference with a giant logjam forming in the middle of the OAC as BW tries to throw an even bigger wrench into the mix. Battle hits both free throws. It's a 5-point game with a shot clock off. D'Allen Jackson, one of the best players in the country, to the rim and scores. Timeout, Purple Raiders. It's a 1-possession game once again, 78-75. Here's what we know so far with 1 game remaining for everybody in the regular season on Saturday. Marietta has won tonight. They beat Muskingum 94-76. John Carroll won at Heidelberg. Final score in that game was a 88-75 win for the Blue Streaks. And the Ohio Northern Polar Bears drummed Otterbein 98-55. So Marietta, John Carroll, and Ohio Northern, top 3 teams in the conference, all win. Pioneers are 15-2. JCU and Ohio Northern are both 14-3. Mount Union at 8-8, currently the 4th seed. If they lose tonight, Muskingum lost because they lost to Marietta, so they're now 7-10. So even a Mount Union loss tonight won't cost them. They can still be in control if they win, still host a home playoff game. If BW wins, they would go to 7-10. Capital is not yet done, but they could go to 7-10 with a win tonight, and they are heading that way with a 7-point lead late. So we could have 3 teams at 7-10 by the end of the night. Heidelberg is 6-11. Looks like Wilmington will fall to 4-13 and be out of the tournament. So lots to still be decided, but there's a big logjam right around that 8, 9, 10 loss mark in the middle of the OAC. BW again trying to get to 7-10 and solidify a road playoff game, as this foul is immediately committed on the inbound. Cam Kuhn will shoot free throws. In fact, BW doesn't realize it, but the fact that Wilmington is about to lose at Capital means BW is absolutely 100% in the OAC tournament, and they will be on the road. It's just a matter of where will they play. So Mike Kaminsky leaves the floor, and BW will shoot 2 free throws here, I believe, in a minute. Or is it still 1-1? The scoreboard says 9 fouls, but I think the officials were saying that it's 2 shots coming. Meanwhile, Andrew Francisconi just committed the foul, and I believe he is done for the night. Cam Kuhn's free throw is good. It was 5 on Francisconi, so that was the reason for the brief delay. Again, hope you'll stick with us for our post-game interview with Tom Heil. He'll address the team quickly and then come join us on our post-game coverage. Kuhn hits them both. It's a 5-point game with 13 seconds to go. DeAllen Jackson still has it, gives it away. A forced 3-ball, no good. Nader the rebound, and there's the final buzzer. Senior night, a success for BW. It's Baldwin Wallace 80 and Mount Union 75. A rivalry win, a senior night win, and both Ben Chase and the starting point guard for the Jackets, Zach Brendy, will have a chance now to go home and say, you know what, we won our senior night game. It was a big one, and the Jackets still have a lot to play for down in Wilmington on Saturday.
Yeah, really a great overall game by the Yellow Jackets on both ends of the floor, able to shoot a nice percentage from the field on the offensive side and do a nice job of limiting DeAllen Jackson, only 22 points, even though it might seem like a lot for a player like him. Just an average game in the book.
So the Jackets win by 5. Everybody leaves the gymnasium happy here in Berea, and we'll wrap it up next. Again, Tom Heil going to the locker room, but he'll join us shortly thereafter. We'll give you the final numbers when we return. BW a winner on BWYellowJackets.com. Welcome inside our post-game coverage on BWYellowJackets.com, where Baldwin Wallace wins tonight's game 80-75 over the Mount Union Purple Raiders. BW improves to 12-12 on the year. They're 7-10 in conference play. Mount Union falls to 13-11. They are now 8-9 in the OAC. Big game for BW tonight because it was a really well-balanced effort. Jay Battle played really well on both ends of the floor. At least in my opinion, Ryan, he's the player of the game. Cam Kuhn, 11 points. He hit some big free throws late. The fact that BW hit all 20 free throws, though, really what I think stands out in this one.
Yeah, especially down the stretch, able to seal the game off with 3 attempts at or 3 trips to the line, rather, to seal that game off in the final minute. Really huge for them, knocking down all those free throws. Like you said, Jay Battle, just an outstanding game. 19 points for him. Pulled down a rebound, had 2 assists, did a nice job all evening of running that point guard position. And on the other end of the floor, guarding De'Allen Jackson, held him 22 points. Really nice job of bottling him up, especially in the second half. Towards the end of the second half, really not a whole lot of action from Jackson. Bauer Malone for the Purple Raiders had 17 points, all coming in the second half. Really got in a hot streak for him. And Giallo Niemke only had 10 points, but all those came in the first half, and they really got away from him in the interior post as the second half progressed along and got more back to their traditional three-point shooting style.
It's hard to believe that Mount Union shot a season-low 6 free throws. I mean, they had some contested shots, but I think BW just deserves a ton of credit for the way they played defense tonight.
Yeah, really had a good game plan going into the game, like we said. Coming into the game, Mount Union, one of the best top 5, in fact, free throw shooting teams in the country, and really an efficient three-point scoring team. Limited them in both avenues there. Only, like you said, only 3 free throw attempts, rather, for the Purple Raiders. So really a good job of shutting down the offense for the Purple Raiders by the Yellow Jackets.
So a nice win for BW tonight, 80-75, as the Jackets begin emerging from the locker room. When we come back, we'll be joined by head coach Tom Heil to hear from him in his post-game thoughts after a big, meaningful final home game win for BW here in 2017. Tom Heil joins us next on BWYellowJackets.com. All right, welcome inside our post-game coverage on BWYellowJackets.com. Brendan Gulick along with BW head basketball coach Tom Heil. Tom, this was a dogfight. It was a game against Mount Union that, in all honesty, you probably expected to be down to the wire, but I'm not sure this is exactly how you would have expected it to go. Mount Union shot a season-low 6 free throws. They shot only 17 three-pointers, and they only hit 5 of them, a team that's usually much more efficient in that regard. How did you see it? Because I think it was maybe not as we expected.
Yeah, I would agree. Our plan, they can really shoot it. So we really talked a lot. Our guys know, we have to take them away from the three-point line. Now, that creates a number of challenges because they've got a lot of guys that can beat you off the dribble. I thought they did beat us off the dribble quite a bit, but we got to a point in the second half, we got a bunch of stops. I think they missed some shots they probably normally make. And our guys, I thought, did a really good job. And we got stops and rebounds, converted on the other end in a stretch that all of a sudden, you look up at the scoreboard, we're up 10. and maybe even 12. And really proud of how we played down the stretch. They are very hard to guard. They go small. Every guy out there is a threat to dribble by you, to pass it and make a play for his buddy, and to shoot it. So I thought we did a great job, and we were put in some tough situations to defend. And that's kind of been the thing we've really been trying to get better at. You know, we held them to 44% in the second half. And when you can do that and they only make 2 threes in the second half, one of them which was late, that's pretty good. So, you know, the recipe to beat them, you have to be able to guard them from the three-point line. And you have to be able to guard without fouling. I thought for the most part we did a pretty good job of those 2 things.
I think you kind of know going into this. You and I have talked so many times throughout the course of the week. D'Allen Jackson's the real deal. He made a couple of plays tonight that were borderline silly.
Yeah.
It was a good team effort defending him, whether it was Quiring. Battle had him a lot throughout the night. Kyle Nader gave some good minutes off the bench. Outside of him, yeah, Bauer Malone got 17 all in the second half, but it just felt like Jackson couldn't get into the rhythm he was used to getting into.
Yeah, he's a great player. And probably individually, I don't know if there's a better guy in our league. I don't know if there's a better guy in the region. I mean, he is unbelievable. And I think the stats obviously show it. But when you see him out here in person, it really shows up how great he is. You know, he was 10 of 17. He had 22, 8 boards. And I kind of feel like we did an okay job.
I was just going to say, it sounds silly to say, but you kind of contained him.
I think we did a much better job in the second half. But, you know, he still got loose. He can get it to the rim. He's an unbelievable shooter. He's unbelievably athletic. I'll take that. I'll take that effort on him. I thought our guys were really locked in. And the key for us with him is when he makes a great play and scores on you, you got to move on to the next play. And you can't beat yourself up and hang your head. And I thought our guys did a really good job of taking it one play at a time.
I know it's been a frustrating season. You had a great start. You've had some struggles in conference play. But here you are now back at the 500 mark, a chance to go on the road on Saturday to get over the 500 mark for the rest of, to solidify the regular season. And then you're going into the tournament. It's official tonight. Wilmington lost at Capital, so you are definitely going to the tournament. And there are 5 teams in seeds 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 separated by 2 games. Nobody has any idea how that's all going to shake out yet. There's still so much to play for. As you go to that final game, knowing it's going to be a tough place, Wilmington is officially out of the tournament. What's the focus going down there?
Yeah, so our focus all year, you know, is to get better every day. And now is really the time you kind of look at the standings and see how it all is going to shake out. So 2 games ago was when we started talking about that stuff. Basically, we said we had a 3-game season, and we want to put ourselves in the best position to get the best seed we can get and put ourselves in hopefully the best position to go win the tournament. To do that, we had to take it one day at a time. That was 9-10 days total. I think that was really the focus. We're on day 8, I believe. I think we've done a pretty good job. You know, we've been good enough to win the last 2 games. I think our energy and our effort defensively has been better. You know, everybody has injuries. Every team in the OAC's had injuries that they've had to overcome. And when we were trying to overcome ours, we were doing it with some young guys. And I think we've gotten better. I love the way we're competing. I love the way how together we are. I think we've got good leadership right now. Our job is to get better tomorrow and get ready Friday to go beat these guys on Saturday. It's going to be a battle. You know, you've done a bunch of these OAC games. It's going to be a battle. But we want to send our seniors off on a win in the regular season, and that's our goal and our focus. And wherever the seeds end up, we'll go where we have to go and be excited to play.
One more thing before we let you go. You mentioned your seniors. I'd like to give you a chance to talk about what Zach and Ben have meant to this program, especially Zach because of what he was able to do tonight and such a really nice night for him.
Yeah, Zach's a great player and he's a great young man. He's an unbelievable student. He's everything BW basketball is all about. He's been a major contributor as a starter coming off the bench since he stepped on campus. Zach's an elite competitor. He's not the most gifted guy we have. He has deficiencies, but he is an elite competitor. He finds a way to compete. And to me, that's because of the man that he is. And I'll tell you what, man, it's going to be hard for me to see our guys lace it up without him out there. He means a lot to me. And Ben Chase, not a lot of guys that were in Ben Chase's role as a freshman and sophomore stick it out. Ben's continued to get better. He's worked just like all the guys that are in the rotation, and maybe even harder than some of them. And now he's put himself in a position as a senior where he's a captain, which is a big deal. And he's one of our leaders. He's one of our voices on the bench. I trust his opinion. I think he's incredibly invested. And every day he shows up, he's the same guy. And that I have a ton of respect for, especially in a day and an age where kids don't stick it out as much as probably they used to. Ben Chase is a winner, and he's had a lot to do with us playing better these last couple games.
It's terrific to see two really good young men leading a program that is starting to put things together as the season's gone along. I know you've had some bumps in the road, but the OAC schedule is a gauntlet, absolutely, and I know you're excited to have the one more opportunity to play one more regular season game before the tournament. This is the last time BW will have a home game all year, so I want to make sure just to thank you for all the time you've spent with us joining us after the games. Best of luck in Wilmington. We will be with you in the tournament on Tuesday, wherever that might be.
Great.
And look forward to seeing a good run from the Jackets.
Thanks
for your time.
Appreciate it.
All right, we'll have more when we come back to wrap it up on BWYellowJackets.com. All right, so we'll wrap things up here tonight from Ursprung Gymnasium. Baldwin Wallace 80, Mount Union 75. Again, the Jackets 12-12. They're 7-10 in conference play. Mount Union goes to 13-11. They fall to 8-9 in the OAC. One more updated look at the standings and then the matchups for Saturday. Marietta in first place at 15-2. They will play the Ohio Northern Polar Bears on Saturday afternoon in Marietta. The Polar Bears 14-3. Marietta has only lost twice, once to Ohio Northern in Ada. If the Polar Bears sweep Marietta and they beat them on Saturday, well, then Ohio Northern would go to 15-3. Marietta would fall to 15-3, and it would depend on how John Carroll fares because the Blue Streaks are also 14-3. They will play at home on Saturday against Capital. Should there be a three-way tie for first place, Ohio Northern will have the number one seed in the tournament. John Carroll will be seeded second. Marietta would be seeded third. Right now, Mount Union is the fourth seed. They're 8-9 in a game clear of Muskingum. Tonight's loss did not hurt them. If Mount Union beats Otterbein, who is out of the tournament, if they beat them on Saturday, Mount Union will be the 4 seed, and they will host a game on Tuesday night. At the moment, Muskingum, BW, and Capital all tied at 7-10. You'd have to look at the combined record of those three teams against each other to figure out who would be seated where. But it really doesn't seem important to do that because we've still got a game to go and those records will change. Heidelberg at 6-11 is tournament bound for sure, but they are very likely going to be the 8th seed in the tournament. Wilmington 4-13, Otterbein 3-14. We just said it with Tom. You've got Heidelberg at 6-11. You've got Mount Union at 8-9, and 3 other teams between them at 7-10. So 5 teams separated by 2 games. Who the heck knows who's going where? It just goes to show that this is a very difficult conference, and there might be a matchup with one of those 6, 7, or 8 seeds. They might see Ohio Northern, Marietta, John Carroll, and that might scare one of those upper seeds strictly based on who's playing who.
Exactly. Going to be a great Saturday afternoon and evening of basketball here in the OAC. Really a bunch of key games as we wrap up the season here to determine exactly who will be playing and who will be playing who, and who will be playing where. As far as the postseason tournament works out, really going to be a nice end of the season in conference play.
What we do know is if Marietta wins on Saturday, they are the number 1 seed. Obviously, if Marietta wins, that means Ohio Northern loses. So if John Carroll wins on Saturday, they would be the 2nd seed in that scenario. But if John Carroll and Ohio Northern both finish not in first place and with the same record, which, again, is very possible, then Ohio Northern and John Carroll split in the regular season. They both beat Marietta once, so you'd have to really start going down the line and figure out who would be seated higher. Again, we don't know that at this point, but we'll certainly have all that information for you come on the OAC website this weekend. We will have the women's broadcast here, our next telecast on Saturday, and that's against the Wilmington Quakers. It's a big one for the Jackets because BW, we don't have an update yet from their game tonight. We'll try to get that for you, but BW look, they entered tonight's game in control of their own destiny for a chance at the 2 seed, which on the ladies' side is so important. Baldwin Wallace, let's see, with a minute to go in the game, they're up 76-45 at Mount Union.
Yeah.
So not knowing what Wilmington did tonight, if BW wins on Saturday, they're the 2 seed. They'll have a bye all the way to the semifinals, which means Saturday's a really important game here.
Yeah, especially in that women's bracket, like you said, those first 2 round byes gets them automatically to the semifinal game, and really in a tournament with the OAC, you never know who you're going to play and what team's going to come out with you, and all teams can be competitive on any given night, like we've said all year. It's really an important game this Saturday for the women's team, and hopefully they can get a victory and lock up that number 2 seed.
That game is scheduled for 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon right here in Ursprung Gymnasium. And it's a big one for the Jackets because Wilmington beat them earlier in the year, and they need to split with them in the regular season and then hope the tiebreakers would favor the Jackets. So BW going on the road on Saturday on the men's side. The women are coming home, and that's the last game of the regular season, which means it's almost tournament time, which is every college basketball fan's favorite time of the season. Your final score one more time tonight, Baldwin Wallace 80 and Mount Union 75. For Ryan Swingle and for our sports information staff, I'm Brendan Gulick. Thanks for tuning in to BW Basketball tonight, where the Jackets top the Purple Raiders by 5. You've been listening to Yellow Jacket Basketball on BWYellowJackets.com. Have a great night, everybody.